Hello everyone, as I alluded to in the previous video a few weeks ago, here is the F1 video that I was talking about possibly making. I said I didn't want to talk about negative things in the last video, but that's just because if you go to any social media, 90% of the football fans on there, and I'm being generous saying just 90, are just playing a game of my toy is better than your toy. Now, that hasn't been the case for F1 until recently. Obviously, there's been Team LH and their psychosis and hatred towards anyone who dares to overtake their Lord and Saviour. Like, their hatred towards Verstappen is so ridiculous that it makes Celtic versus Rangers look friendly in the stands. Max fans are unbelievably smug, but they tend to not hate on anyone other than Team LH, so I say let them do their thing. Plus, most Max fans that followed the sport from around or before when he started, they're just Red Bull fans. Like, purists tend to not like Red Bull because they aren't a car manufacturer, and they say that F1 should be for Ferrari, McLaren, Renault, teams like that. Well, that's just not how the sport is, and you know what? No, I'm going to go off script. I'm going to ignore the 4 bullet points that I've got. I'm going to go through the fan bases. Red Bull. Young fans who want to support the best team and driver, or they like them pre-2021 because of either Danny Rick or Seb, or the fact that they are an energy drink company at the pinnacle of motorsport and making a mockery of it. Mercedes. I'm not sure how I'm going to approach this one, because there's 2, maybe 3 camps. There's Team LH, as I said before, the deluded morons that think that Lewis is the be-all and end-all of racing, and that he's the perfect human being. If that was the case, then he wouldn't have a vegan dog or tweet about climate change from his speedboat. Shout out RPM. There's people who wanted to see Russell do well after watching him squeeze performance out of a Williams, but those are a dying breed due to him causing incidents and then blaming the other driver, or due to him unironically using the word crikey. And then there's the fans who like the actual team, which are either going to be glory hunters from the mid to late 2010s, or people who got behind the old lineup of Schumacher and Rosberg way back in the day. Ferrari. Pasta with a side of depression. There's some new fans that will just like Charles and support wherever he drives because he's the best looking driver on the grid, and that's a fact. There's people like me who would have had their first experience of Formula One that they remember being Schumacher in the Ferrari, and we just thought that a red F1 car was cool, so we grew up to be Ferrari fans. There's some of the purists, like I said before, but they're a dying breed as well. All in all, being a Ferrari fan, it's not a fun time. Alpine. You're French. McLaren. You have a crush on one of the drivers, you're under the age of 18, or you spend way too much time watching F1 videos on YouTube. It's either one of those, or you're an actual adult who like the battles with Ferrari over the years, or you might be old enough to remember watching Senna live and haven't moved on from how mental his driving style was. Aston? Don't lie. You don't like the team. You like Alonso. That's okay because he's an absolute legend. And he's even more of a legend now that he's discovered social media. Visa, Cash App, Barclays, Lloyds, PayPal, RB. Let's be honest. As with Aston, you don't like the team, the Red Bull B team. You like either one or both of the drivers. Yuki fans are funny. They either like anime and weeb shit, or they love how much he swears and how angry he gets. I mean, to be honest, I still love that his English has been completely ruined by engineers. Ricardo fans. I imagine it's probably worse than being a Ferrari fan. He's pretty washed. The time has come to admit it. Lots of the social media fans are mental when it comes to him. Last season he got the P7 in Mexico, but other than that was very average. I mean, this season, Bahrain should have been a 10th for Yuki, but strategy was just plainly wrong. And then he got the team orders for Ricciardo to overtake. Saudi, once again, should have been 10th, but K-Mag decided to do motorsport terrorism to get Hulkenberg his point. And that's the only reason that Daniel was anywhere near Yuki in that race. Australia, Daniel had an absolute stinker, and Yuki grabbed a P7, which should have been a P9, if not for Alonso trying to kill Russell. I mean, not really, but you get what I mean. And before people say, Hamilton wouldn't have caught him. The softs at the start was a bad call. It made it so that it just wasn't happening unless he would have got Perez coming out of the pits. But he didn't, and Yuki was close to him on the fresher tyres. Unless the strategy was as brain dead as it was in Bahrain, he finishes above Hamilton by having more pace, either later on in that stint and overtaking him, or extending the stint to where he wouldn't have needed as much tyre management in the final stint, and he'd have been on fresher tyres again with the less tyre management. Honestly, Yuki has been cooking this year. In terms of using the teammate as an indicator, he's got to be up there in the conversation for pound for pound best driver performances this season. Either that, or Ricciardo is completely washed and needs to retire. If he gets points in half of the remaining races or around there, he should be in contention for the Red Bull seat. Personally, I'd give it to Carlos, but if they want to keep with the in-house Red Bull drivers, it's Yuki. So, well, there we go. That's Yuki Tsunoda Appreciation Hour finished. What was I doing? Teams. Haas. You like Drive to Survive too much, or are you doing black magic to try and get Hulk a podium? Williams. You like the underdog and want to see if Alex can manage multiple points finishes again? Or you're an old fan who likes them from the past because other than those few years with Bottas and Massa, they have been dog. Bad stream inside Saber. Do they have fans? I don't know. I have never seen a Sauber fan. Maybe someone from the BMW days is still around, but other than that, I think that they all disappeared when Kimi retired. To be honest, I feel like people used to like the constructors, but now everyone just has their favourite driver. Team LH, even at times, didn't like Mercedes and don't seem to at the moment. It's they didn't like Rosberg because he was around the pace of Lewis, but they like Bottas because he followed the team orders. They don't like Russell because, once again, he's fighting Hamilton and he's up there with him. Albon fans don't like Hamilton because he probably caused him to get dropped by Red Bull. I mean, indirectly, but the collisions were probably the reason. Without those, he'd have been on quite a few more points. But if Alex somehow replaces Lewis, you'll bet his fans will be buying Mercedes merch. Because that's just how it works. There's no allegiance to teams, it's all about the drivers. And this is why I don't like the way that F1 social media's gone. Because it wasn't like this 5 years ago, and it's become on the level of football Twitter, which is an absolute disaster. There are drivers I dislike, but I have other reasons other than they did something to my favourite driver. I don't hate Max Verstappen because he absolutely demolished Charles Leclerc in the 2022 championship. But I don't like Hamilton because he's a hypocrite. He's fast, but I don't like him as a person. The only other driver that I don't really like is Ocon, and it's for how he races his teammates. No matter who he's been racing against, he always pushes the teammate way, way too far. How many times did him and Alonso nearly come together? It's ridiculous. I was planning on this being like a 2 or 3 minute video, but that's not happened. I hope you guys have enjoyed the ravings of a madman. And if you did, leave a like and let me know what you think of my interpretations of the fan bases in the comments. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.